In a world where invisibility unveils hidden truths, Michele Silenzi's wish to escape his tormentors spirals into a chilling adventure. He grapples with newfound powers that fuel revenge but unearths a dark connection to missing children. How far would you go to reclaim your identity when facing ethical dilemmas between vengeance and justice? If you want to dive into real stories of parallel realities every day, in enigmatic, technological worlds that are completely different from our planet, subscribe to our channel and leave your like. Well, let's go. In the quaint town of Trieste, Italy, the evening breeze carried with it the soft whispers of history, and beneath the intricate architecture that lined the cobblestone streets, young Michele Silenzi felt the weight of expectation draped over his shoulders like a heavy cloak. The air was filled with anticipation as the school prepared for its annual fantasy party, an event that promised magic and wonder, a genuine escape from the mundane. Yet for Michele, the evening represented something more burdensome, the culmination of years of unspoken insecurities and feelings of inadequacy. Michele, a boy of average height with tousled dark hair and a thin frame, had always felt like an outsider among his peers. His large hazel eyes, which often sparkled with a hint of life and curiosity, now betrayed a sense of apprehension as he stood before the mirror in his modest bedroom. The superhero costume his mother had insisted on, a bright, albeit ill-fitting outfit emblazoned with comic book logos, clung awkwardly to his form. While she had hoped it would serve to impress his longtime crush, Stella, all Michele felt was exposed, painfully aware that the fabric could not conceal the insecurities that festered within. As he adjusted the utility belt that sat uncomfortably around his waist, a flicker of hope mingled with despair coursed through his mind. Stella, with her flowing chestnut hair and infectious laughter, had always been the sun in his otherwise cloudy existence. The very thought of her brought a smile to his pale, freckled face, but as the clock ticked down to the party's start, the nervous knots in his stomach tightened. What if his costume made him the subject of ridicule? The cruel echoes of past taunts filled his memory like a haunting melody. The night deepened, and the school hall grew alive with colorful lights that danced off the walls, casting playful shadows that contrasted the heavy atmosphere weaving through the crowd. As Michele made his way into the hall, he could already sense the undercurrents of laughter that wrapped around him like chains. The vibrant throngs of students swirled around him, their costumes, a kaleidoscope of characters from fairy tales and folklore, filling the room with an energy that seemed to both electrify and suffocate. But the moment he stepped through the threshold, his confidence crumbled under the weight of cruel jeers that seemed to reverberate around him. "Look at the wannabe superhero," shouted one classmate, sending a ripple of laughter cascading through the room. Each chuckle felt like a dagger, twisting deeper into his already fragile sense of self. Crushed by the mocking laughter, Michele felt small, adrift in a sea of scorn and rejection. Despair consumed him, and in that swept-up moment, he closed his eyes tightly. The words slipped from his lips, an impulsive wish, a desperate prayer. "I wish I could be invisible." The moment these words hung in the air like a tenuous thread, a peculiar energy coursed through his veins. It thrummed with electricity, rolling over him in waves, and the sensation traced every limb until, shockingly, he began to fade from view. The bright decor and the thrumming music of the party grew distant, replaced by an unsettling silence that enveloped him. He had wished for anonymity, for refuge from the cruel laughter that echoed around him, but now, swallowed by shadows, Michele grappled with a chilling realization. He had crossed a threshold into an abyss he couldn't comprehend. This wasn't just a dream come true but a portal into something far darker, far more enigmatic. As he roamed the halls of his school, now traversing undetected, a melange of feelings coursed through him, exhilaration but also dread. He saw the world through a new lens, observing his classmates interacting, laughing, dancing, and enjoying the very essence of youth that had felt so alien to him. With every passing moment, the thrill of invisibility began to morph into a ghastly reflection of his deepest fears. Would he remain unseen forever, lost in a void with no return? His initial desire for freedom was gradually entangled in uncertainty. Yet, right there, in the sea of laughter and joyful antics, the trembling pulse of isolation wrapped around him tighter than before. Michele caught sight of Stella, radiant amidst a whirlwind of color and frivolity. She was hosting games, her laughter ringing pure and unblemished, a light illuminating the dusky corners of the school. With every glance toward her, longing twisted in his heart, magnifying his loss. Here he was, invisible to the very one who held his affection in her warm, golden light. Caught in a heavy stillness, Michele felt the weight of his wish press upon him. It was intoxicating to slip through the cracks of the reality he had known, to witness the lives of others unfold without being seen. Yet, a gnawing dread coursed through him. This newfound power came with an insidious cost. What might he become if he embraced the shadows entirely? Would he ever learn to confront his fears rather than flee into obscurity? As he lingered by the punch bowl, hidden within the shadows, a flicker of intrigue pulled him into the unseen corners of the room. Radiant in its chaos, yet cold with detachment. He watched as other students floated through their brilliant night, blissfully unaware of the one lost in shadows surrounding them. It struck him then that invisibility wasn't merely the absence of physical form. It held the potential for him to escape reality altogether. Thoughts spiraled as echoes of laughter morphed into whispers of mockery, intertwining with an undercurrent of something far more sinister. In the fleeting moments he spent hiding among the vibrant festivities, a tang of fear tinged his innocence. Amidst the merriment lay a truth he hadn't noticed before. There were stories within stories. Each smile perhaps masking hidden anguish. Each dance perhaps a distraction from unhealed wounds. In that instant, Michele's heart raced not with joy but with an urgency propelling him to explore the boundaries of this newfound ability. Perhaps invisibility could serve him, not only as a retreat from ridicule but as a means to uncover the mysteries cloaked in the joy of others. But along with this curiosity brewed another question. What dark secrets lay hidden beneath the surface of this festivity? Were there more insidious shades lingering in the corners of Trieste? As the noise of the party swelled, Michele felt an unsettling pull, drawing him toward the doors that led outside. The transition from the vibrant chaos to the cooler night air was jarring. The stars above twinkled with indifferent brilliance, as if mocking the trials of humanity below. Strange shadows danced in the moonlight, conjuring nebulous shapes that flickered at the edges of his consciousness. In the ensuing moments, he began to step away from the crowd, feeling the compelling force of unseen threads drawing him toward the heart of something greater. With the newfound ability to slip unseen through the world, Michele Silenzi felt an intoxicating freedom that coursed through his veins like a potent elixir. The weight and ridicule that once anchored him were now mere memories, ephemeral fragments of a painful past. He reveled in his invisibility, not as a means of escape but as a vehicle for liberation, a chance to reclaim agency over his life. He drifted around Trieste's cobblestone streets, dancing between shadows, relishing his newfound anonymity. In the ghostly glow of the dim lamplights, Michele concocted elaborate schemes to torment the very people that had made his life unbearable. The thrill of pranks directed at his classmates surged through him as he disrupted their laughter, unsettling them, a jolt of fear rippling through their ranks. A strategically placed whoopee cushion during a classroom lecture sent his offenders into chaos, while the disappearance of textbooks from lockers frazzled the minds that had once grappled with his insecurities. Yet, in the joyous pursuit of revenge, a deeper, more haunting sentiment crept over him, an acute awareness of his isolation. Hidden beneath the cloak of invisibility was a growing anxiety, more profound than any humiliation he had faced. He shadowed his crush, Stella, observing her laughter from the periphery. He saw the way her eyes sparkled with delight when she was surrounded by friends, their camaraderie a stark contrast to the hollowness that engulfed him. The joy he derived from pranking his peers faded, eclipsed by a gnawing emptiness. Then, like a flash of lightning in an overcast sky, a sinister revelation altered his course. News reports spoke of dread, ominous occurrences laden with tragedy, echoing through the streets of Trieste. A series of children's disappearances chilled the very heart of the town. The hushed voices of frightened parents intermingled with the desperate pleas of families, each face etched with confusion and loss. As Michele listened, his pulse quickened, the familiar tumult of dread and yearning settling into his core. Each report stirred memories of his own adoption and the relentless questions that pervaded his mind. Where had he come from? Who were his biological parents? As he pieced together these disjointed threads of existence, he couldn't shake the feeling that somehow, interwoven with these abductions, lay a connection to his own identity. The realization sent tremors through him. Was he merely a pawn crafted by forces beyond his understanding? Haunted by curiosity and desperation, Michele began to stalk the local news, his heart pounding with every update. He could hardly ignore the chilling proximity of the incidents. The last reported missing child lived just a few streets away from his home. Until that moment, he had assumed invisibility would be an asset, yet it now felt more like a curse leaning on his shoulders, amplifying his dread. Days turned into an agonizing blur as isolation began to morph into torment. The thrill of revenge no longer sufficed, he craved purpose. Michele's thoughts spiraled into dark places. Was it his wrongdoing, his very invisibility, that had opened the door for chaos? A whisper of guilt haunted him like the echo of a long-forgotten sin, suffocating the boy beneath the bravado he had built. It was at that moment, wrestling with the swirling emotions, that he resolved to uncover the truth surrounding the disappearances. As twilight cloaked Trieste in its embrace, Michele embarked on a mission toward reckoning. The moon hung low, casting a silver luminescence across rooftops and alleys, guiding him like a beacon. He turned to the school library, its dimly lit interior a vault of forgotten histories. Dusty books lined the shelves, whispering tales of the town's past, woven with secrets long buried beneath the surface. Here, he sought solace and answers. Sifting through brittle newspaper clippings from years gone by, he delved deeper, scanning for any correlation to the current spate of kidnappings. His fingertips brushed against the paper, revealing stories of loss, tragedy, and the slow decay of trust that flickered in the hearts of the townsfolk. Each article unfolded like layers of a long-held secret, culminating in the revelation of a group, the Ark, an elusive assembly said to engage in dubious practices. Michele learned the Ark thrived on fear. It claimed the souls of children to ensnare the hearts of the living, weaving them into the dark fabric of their operations. As he pieced together their involvement in the shadow of previous abductions, he felt an icy grip wrap around his spine. There was something larger at play, a sinister force powerful enough to manipulate the fates of children, and he realized he could not stand idly by. With every flicker of the fluorescent library lights, determination surged within Michele. Steeled by the thought of those innocent souls, his resolve brightened. He was no longer just a boy seeking revenge. He was a guardian in the shadows, vowing to dissect the web of darkness that threatened to engulf the town. Transfixed by his mission, Michele spent nights huddled in the library, decoding snippets of whispers between irregular meetings of the Ark, held in the hidden recesses of his town. The more he uncovered, the stronger his desire grew to confront the organization that had snatched children from their homes and reduced families to despair. However, the deeper he ventured, the more he grappled with ethical dilemmas. Each reached for resolution raised new questions. Did he have the right to act? Did revenge lie within him, or was that merely a mask? The lines between punishment and justice became muddied in the flickering glow of his conscious mind. Commitment to uncover the truth transformed into a dangerous obsession as he became embroiled in a game that threatened to spiral far beyond his understanding. The day of reckoning arrived abruptly, an underground meeting of the Ark scheduled just outside the periphery of Trieste's reach. Michele nestled himself among the shadows, masked by anonymity, anticipation simmering in his belly. What would he discover? Would he reclaim the stolen children? Or would he meet fate amid the very darkness he sought to extinguish? Surrounded by the pulse of the unknown, the air crackled with tension as he witnessed the gathering. Faces cloaked in darkness, shrouded figures spoke in hushed tones, weaving their plans as Michele's heart raced in sync with their machinations. The flickering candlelight illuminated the intent etched on their faces, revealing a concoction of arrogance and malice. And then he caught sight of a figure that shook him to the core. Basili, the sinister psychologist behind the recent kidnappings, stood at the center of the gathering, exuding authority and command. A sickening unease swirled through Michele. The entire world felt as if it had narrowed, spiraling inwards towards that vortex of chaos. Everything he had uncoiled about the Ark and Basili came crashing together like the cacophony of thunder. The sun had long set over Trieste, its rays yielding to the creeping shadows that embraced the town like a living organism. The air was thick with an unsettling tension, charged with the weight of secrets and burdens yet to be unveiled. Michele stood at the edge of his world, staring at the flickering lights of the school, a distorted reflection of the chaos brewing within him. He had sought visibility in a world that thrived on shadows, yet all he could feel was the chilling grip of a past he did not fully understand. As Michele processed the enormity of his encounter with Andrage, confusion and curiosity battled for dominance in his mind. Andrage was an enigma. His silver hair framed a prepossessing face with striking features that suggested both strength and weariness. The look in his eyes was like a storm waiting to break, a mix of pain and wisdom that urged Michele to trust him, even as questions swirled unrelentingly. He was more than just a father, he was a key to unlocking answers that had long eluded Michele. "Michele, you are destined for greatness," Andrage had said, his voice echoing in Michele's thoughts, a sonic reverberation of hope mixed with dread. "Your lineage is intertwined with the fabric of realities unknown. You stand at a threshold, where choices define not just your fate but the fate of others." The notion of a remarkable legacy, marred by uncertainty, haunted Michele. The legacy also teemed with implications. What did it mean for his life? And how did it tie into the mysterious vanishing of children across the region? The more he dissected his heritage, the more he understood that with great power came profound responsibility, not only to wield it but to comprehend its nature and the ethical dilemmas embedded within. As shadows lengthened, Michele's resolve crystallized. Stella's safety was paramount, but the stakes were polemical, steeped in a confluence of dark desires and ethical quandaries. He was transformed, elevated yet vulnerable, a paradox of existence. Could he use his abilities for good, even if his powers stemmed from a place of profound darkness? His thoughts tangled with doubts. Was embracing his heritage tantamount to succumbing to the very evil he wished to vanquish? The evening swallowed the last remnants of daylight, and Michele vanished into the depths of the night, invisibility draping him in a cloak of shadows as he prepared to confront the nefarious Basili. Each step forward unraveled a series of conundrums. The choices he made could lead to salvation or catastrophe, for him and for those he loved. Somewhere in this heated conflict of motives, weaved the fine line between justice and revenge, a blur that teetered dangerously close to the precipice of morality. As he infiltrated the labyrinthine corridors of Basile's fortress, each corner felt alive, infused with energy that resonated with echoes of despair, cries for help, whispers of lost hope. The alien architecture towered overhead, a midnight black monolith adorned with grotesque statues depicting twisted figures, perhaps guardians of the secrets housed within. It was a space where light dared not enter, where the very walls pulsated with the pain of countless souls. Yet, amidst this horror, Michele harnessed his fear, transforming it into a weapon of empowerment. Navigating through the fortress, Michele encountered technology that surpassed earthly imagination. Holographic screens displayed twisted psychological experiments, individual chambers designed to extract information, and portals to unknown realms. The irony weighed heavily upon him. This fortress was both a prison and a testament to the insatiable human desire to exploit the unknown. With each stride, Michele felt the magnitude of his inheritance, a blend of power and lineage burdened by moral imperatives. Moments became eternal as he uncovered data logs detailing the origins of the kidnappings, eerily meticulous notes penned by Basile himself. Each scribbled word revealed a tormentor's mind, a mind riddled with twisted ideologies and scientific delusions. The children, mere pawns in a game of psychological conquest, their dreams extinguished within sterile walls, haunted Michele. The ethical implications pressed upon him were staggering. In his quest to save Stella, would he become a monster himself, subjugating one evil with another? The destination grew closer. He could feel the pulse of Stella's presence as if tethered by an unseen bond. Yet, the fortress thrummed with an undercurrent of fear and despair, each step further fueling his determination to break the cycle of torment. Memories of shared laughter and innocent days cascaded through his mind, propelling him forward. If he could harness his powers, disrupt Basile's plans, what horrors might he unleash within that dark domain? Arriving at the heart of the fortress, Michele braced himself for the confrontation ahead. The chamber hummed with an energy that suggested stones had ears and shadows held secrets. Before him lay Basile, cloaked in darkness, his figure casting an ominous outline over a control board littered with spectral images of captives. The children, their faces masks of confusion and fear. It was like staring into the abyss. "Welcome, Michele," Basile declared, his voice smooth yet serrated, like a blade hidden beneath velvet. "You've come seeking justice, yet what you'll find here may redefine your understanding of it." Michele's heart raced. The confrontation unfurled before him like a fateful duel. The air crackled as reality itself seemed to squirm with anticipation. Good versus evil blurred into a cacophony of chaos. Dark power emanated from Basile, wrapping around the chamber like serpentine smoke, demanding obedience, tempting Michele to relinquish his virtues in exchange for ultimate power. As Basile raised his hands, igniting a display of psychokinetic forces that rivaled anything Michele had ever encountered, the battle in Michele's heart intensified. Vengeance whispered sweet promises heard from broken streets, yet honesty cried for compassion, urging him to hold onto his humanity, to remind himself of those who were innocently imprisoned for crimes they did not commit. In the throes of struggle, a revelation ignited. Michele summoned forth his newfound abilities, not to obliterate but to save. He found hope in the midst of chaos, channeling his awareness into shimmering streams of energy that enveloped him. With each surge, he disrupted Basile's hold, breaking the chains of fear binding the children. The fortress trembled, as it too seemed to resonate with the struggle, revealing cracks of light streaming through the darkness. Ironically, power surged from his lineage, his very being a crucible of ancient energies. Yet the lesson hovered obscurely in the ether. He had to confront not just Basili, but also the shadows within himself, the whispers that tempted him toward vengeance rather than justice. He was at the juncture of becoming the hero he desired or giving in to the allure of the darker path laid before him. The air was thick with tension and unease as Michele Silenzi approached the imposing fortress, Basili's stronghold towering like a dark monolith against the moonlit sky. Its stone walls, jagged and raw, exuded an aura of malevolence, a stark reminder of the horrors contained within. The simple beauty of the tranquil night around him felt like a distant memory, replaced by a gnawing anxiety that clenched at his stomach. This was it. He was stepping into the mouth of a monster. With the cloak of invisibility wrapping around him like a second skin, Michelle's heart raced as he slid past the guards stationed at the entrance, emotionless sentinels, their expressions blank as they stood vigilant with weapons at the ready. Their mere presence was a testament to the darkness that lurked within the fortress, an impenetrable bastion of cruelty that had been holding Stella and the other children captive. He willed himself to remain calm. He needed to be sharp, to think quickly, and to act decisively. The interior of the fortress was a stark contrast to the serene landscape outside. Cold, metallic surfaces met his touch as he tiptoed through dimly lit corridors, flickering lights casting ominous shadows that danced around him. The smell of dampness paired with something acrid tinged the air, making it hard for him to breathe. This place was designed to intimidate, to instill a sense of hopelessness in anyone who dared to enter. Every creak of the floor beneath his feet echoed like a death knell, reinforcing the reality that he was not merely a boy. He was a hope, a whisper of resistance against the towering nightmare that was Basili. As he traveled deeper into the fortress, Michele encountered the remnants of those who had come before him, remnants of lives left behind, each room telling stories of despair through discarded toys and tattered remnants of clothing. It became clear that this wasn't just a place of captivity. It was a graveyard of dreams, a monument to lost innocence. Each object evoked a deep sense of urgency within him. He could not allow Stella to become another soul devoured by the darkness. Michele pressed forward, navigating a series of winding hallways that seemed to twist and turn without end. He could hear muffled noises in the distance, cries, sobs, and whispers, blending into a haunting symphony of anguish that pierced his heart. With every step, a sense of dread deepened within him, and yet the thought of Stella propelled him onward. The bond they shared was a force that ignited the spark of courage residing within him. Suddenly, he found himself standing in front of a massive door, adorned with incomprehensible symbols etched into the surface, whispering tales of an ancient culture long lost. This door was different. It hummed with an energy that felt alive, resilient, as if it were a guardian keeping the worst horrors at bay. Michele could feel that Stella, and perhaps the other children, lay beyond it. Summoning his energy, he focused on the door, willing it to yield to him. With an almost instinctive flick of his wrist, he called upon his telekinesis, channeling the raw power into the door itself. At once, the door shuddered, the symbols flaring with a bright luminescence before swinging open with an ominous creak. Beyond it lay a cavernous chamber, filled with an unnatural brilliance, an ethereal glow illuminating the chaotic scene within. Michelle's breath caught in his throat as he took in the sight. Rows of children, each restrained by mechanical bindings, their expressions a mix of fear and confusion. At the center of the room, Basili stood, a looming figure clad in dark attire, his eyes glinting with a feral delight that sent chills coursing through Michelle's veins. Michele Silenzi, Basili spoke, his voice dripping with condescension, as if the very spirit of the boy had been laid bare before him. "You've come to play the hero, but do you really understand the weight of what you fight against?" Michele felt a surge of defiance ripple through him. Basili was a twisted philosopher cloaked in cruelty, spinning a web of manipulation that ensnared the minds of the vulnerable. Michele's heart pounded hard against his chest, the responsibility of those lives weighing heavily on his shoulders. This confrontation was not merely a battle of wills. It was a test of moral integrity, pitting the innocent against the twisted rationalizations of a man who believed he was orchestrating a larger purpose. With a mix of fear and determination, Michele tightened his focus. In that moment of clarity, as the children's fearful gazes fell upon him, he locked onto the raw energy flowing within and around him, his telekinesis flaring in waves. Bolstered by the innocent lives that inspired him, he lunged forward, instinctively reaching out to free the children, hurling the mechanical bindings brutally against the walls, the clang of metal resounding like a battle cry. Basili reacted swiftly, his expression shifting from amusement to rage, as he commanded the shadows that swirled around him, dark tendrils of energy reaching out, seeking to ensnare Michele. The chamber transformed into a battlefield, where flickering lights battled against encroaching darkness. Michele could feel the weight of the confrontation pressing in on him, moral dilemmas crashing like waves. Could he truly save Stella without becoming what he despised? Would violence be the only answer against such a deep-rooted evil? Each thought surged as he resisted the pull of darkness, grappling with the desire to harness his powers for destruction rather than salvation. Michele, at that moment, was faced with a choice that could define not just who he was, but who he would become. In the eye of the storm, he envisioned the children liberated. Their laughter reverberated in his ears like a distant melody, urging him to fight not just out of vengeance but for the sake of hope they still held. With resolve coursing through him, Michele let out a fierce cry, channeling every ounce of his energy toward Basili. Reality warped around them as a cyclone of psychic force battled against the dark, and with one decisive motion, he thrust the tendrils of shadow back, a violent clash that shattered the illusion Basili had manipulated for so long. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of light and sound, a kaleidoscope of chaos that engulfed everything: the children's gasps, Basili's roaring fury, and the raw power of Michele's will. In that pivotal moment, something within Michele awakened, a profound sense of purpose that transcended his circumstances. He understood, with striking clarity, that the real battle was not merely external against Basili, but internal against the shadows of his own fears, insecurities, and unanswered questions about his past. As he felt the tide turn, Michele's focus narrowed on the bindings restraining the children. In the stillness that followed the chaos, a profound sense of relief washed over Michele Silenzi. He stood in the dimly lit corridor of Basili's stronghold, debris scattered around him, an eerie silence enveloping the space where just moments before, fear and despair had reignited. The air was thick with clarity, a shimmering haze of triumph lingering in the atmosphere, a testament to the struggle fought and won. Yet, as Michele gazed at the remnants of the battle, a deep-seated duality within him stirred. The victory tasted sweet but held a bitter undertone that echoed in the chambers of his heart. Beside him, Stella remained constrained in her human fragility, her luminous presence barely masking the shadows that had taken residence in her soul. They had faced the abyss together, but Michele sensed the weight of unspoken words hovering like specters between them. He turned towards her, desperate to capture the fleeting moment of connection, yet the chasm of their experiences felt insurmountable. Outside, the world pulsed with life as they freed the kidnapped children, their laughter breaking through the somber veil of despair. The children, eyes wide with wonder and relief, had clung to each other, transforming the formidable fortress of shadows into a sanctuary of hope. For Michele, their innocence ignited the flickering embers of heroism within, fueling his determination to ensure such darkness never encroached upon their lives again. As the last child was ushered out into the embrace of freedom, Michele stepped back, a sense of purpose swelling in his chest. It was in that very act, the liberation of the most vulnerable, that he discovered the essence of his powers. No longer just a shadow hidden in plain sight, he had become a beacon of resistance against tyranny. But with newfound power came the weight of responsibility, a mantle he found both exhilarating and daunting. With Stella by his side, Michele retraced the path from despair to hope, navigating the corridors where fear once reigned. They shared quiet glances that spoke volumes, bartering unvoiced promises wrapped in uncertainty. Each intersection they encountered held memories of their take-back from the clutches of darkness, and with each step, Michele felt a growing resolve. This was not about becoming a hero born of fantasy. It was about carving out a reality for himself, born from the scars of their struggles. As they reached the entrance to the stronghold, the cool night air enveloped them, a stark contrast to the oppressive weight of the shadows they just escaped. Yet, as Michele inhaled the fragrance of the outside world, tendrils of doubt curled within him. He acknowledged the whispers of inner turmoil that echoed loudly. They had triumphed against an enemy, however, many layers of the mystery still remained unraveled. Clarity had eluded him, leaving questions hovering like phantoms. Who had orchestrated the kidnappings, and why? What lay ahead for him and Stella, with the bonds forged in adversity still fragile? The vastness of their reality stretched beyond comprehension. As they stepped into the unfamiliar embrace of freedom, the horizon held a hue of uncertainty, a mosaic of adventure yet to unfold. It was then he understood. They were no longer the same children who had ventured into the depths of fear. They were heroes molded by tribulations. Michele glanced at Stella, her hands trembling as they brushed against the remnants of the stronghold's facade, overwhelmed by the silence and the weight of their emerging identities. In that pivotal moment, Michele's perspective shifted. It wasn't merely a farewell to the life they had known. It was a subtle bid to acknowledge the culmination of their journey, a promise to give voice to those who had been silenced, to shed light in the ever-looming darkness. He felt an urge to speak, the words weaving through his soul, but the realization struck him that nothing could summarize what they just endured. Their bond would not disintegrate, rather, it would evolve, expanding across the tapestry of realities fraught with uncertainties. Each decision they made would propel them across the universe towards destinies uncharted, veiled in obscurity yet reflected in their unwavering resolve. As dawn broke in resplendent hues across the horizon, Michele and Stella made their way back toward Trieste, where life resumed its rhythm, blissfully unaware of the gravity of secrets lurking just beyond their perception. The landscape transformed around them. Fields of vibrant colors flourished, each petal bending slightly in the morning breeze, whispering tales of resilience. It felt as if nature itself conspired with the universe to celebrate their victory. Michele realized the path of a hero was not linear. It spiraled and twisted with challenges lurking around every corner, shadows concealed within the light. Yet, there was an undeniable certainty within him. An unshakable realization. The power he bore was not one of invisibility, but illumination, the ability to unearth hidden truths and confront them head-on, no matter how terrifying. As he ambled along, a flicker of movement caught his eye, a small figure darting in and out of the trees flanking the path. His instincts surged. Even in this newfound freedom, Michele remained vigilant. The sight of it ignited caution. He squeezed Stella's hand gently, their connection a grounding reminder amongst the chaos of emotions. It was in this fleeting moment he sensed the encroaching darkness wantonly clawing at the edges of their peaceful existence. Unbeknownst to them, Basili's web of malevolence had not been entirely disrupted. Shadows remained lurking on the peripheries, waiting for a moment to reclaim their lost ground. The battle was not over. The enemy had merely retreated, disguised in the everyday mundane of life, biding time to strike anew. Michele understood with sudden clarity that the dawn of revelation brought with it the burden of vigilance. As the sun steadily climbed higher in the sky, illuminating the verdant fields and casting long shadows behind them, Michele and Stella walked into an uncertain future. Every puzzle piece of their existence remained fragmented, a riddle challenging the very essence of who they were. But with resolve firm in his heart and faith kindled within their bond, Michele knew the adventure had just begun. He turned towards Stella, who gazed at the world with newfound wonder and unspoken fear. Despite the inevitable challenges to come, he felt a sense of peace, of determination, that vibrated through the very fabric of his being. They had emerged from the darkness transformed, and the essence of their experiences would guide them in the days ahead. Underneath the radiant sun, the landscape embraced them as champions of their own story, a story of facing fears, illuminating truths, and conquering the undying allure of shadows. The horizon stretched infinitely before them, enticingly unknown. With their hearts intertwined by the bonds of courage and an understood purpose, they stepped forward into their destiny, ready to confront whatever mysteries lay ahead. The journey of Michele Silenzi was not just that of an ordinary boy turned hero, but a universal reminder of the resilience woven into the human spirit. If you liked this story based on real events, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to like it. Here you can dive into a different reality every day, where anything can happen. Comment below what kind of story you would like to hear here. Thank you very much for your attention. We are the Sci-Fi family.